morning, ladies and gentlemen. We got him.
Those are the exact words of Governor Spencer Cox talking about Charlie's alleged murderer's arrest. Now, if you do not know why and how he got shot or why and how this 22-year-old dude got arrested, then I'd be glad to share with you the craziest story of this alleged killer, Tyler James Robinson, and his victim, Charlie Kirk. Charlie Kirk is a well-known conservative influencer who goes on TV, rallies, conferences, universities, media, and anything public to talk about politics, culture wars, mass shootings, and every other thing that sits right with him. For a figure like that, he draws a lot of hate, from the liberals to civil rights advocates and Trump's government rivals too, because he seems to be very close to this dude. So, on September 10th, 2025, Kirk was literally in the middle of giving a speech at Utah Valley University in Orem. With a crowd of 1,000 people gathered, now it was part of Kirk's big American comeback tour, where he goes campus to campus, sparking debates about politics, mass shootings, and culture wars. And right in the middle of it, bam, gunshot chaos. So this guy, James, happened to live about 3 hours south, down in Washington County, Utah. It's a pretty quiet town, and nothing out of the ordinary happens there. But according to his family and the investigators, he'd been getting more political over the past couple of years. Like, in their Thanksgiving dinner with family, his argument levels are mostly high whenever it comes to political talks. He wasn't shy about saying he hated Charlie Kirk. And in fact, just a few days before the shooting, he mentioned Kirk's upcoming Utah Valley University program while having dinner with his family. Now, looking back at that, it is a big red flag. But at the time, nobody thought their relative was about to turn into an assassin. So on the day of the event, Tyler allegedly hops into his gray Dodge Challenger and drives up to campus. Security cameras caught him walking around in clothes that later matched those of the shooter. He eventually climbs up onto a rooftop near the Losi Center, carrying a Mauser .30-06 bolt-action rifle with a scope. Not the kind you would want to stuff into a backpack. From that rooftop, about 140 to 200 yards away, he lines up his shot. He pulls the trigger. One shot, and it hits Kirk in the neck. The crowd panicked. People were screaming and security was rushing in from all directions. But Kirk had already collapsed on stage. Within minutes, he was pronounced dead. Blogs, social media, and news stations around the world carried the news. But here's where it gets even crazier. After firing that shot, Robinson ditches a rifle in some nearby woods. The forensic teams later recovered it with the bullets inside. As it is, they realized those weren't just normal bullets. They had engravings, like full-on troll messages scratched into the casings. Investigators found phrases like, "Hey, fascist, catch," and "If you read this, you are gay." El Mayo, imagine planning out an assassination and then leaving middle school level roast jokes on the bullets. It's giving the Psyche vibes. Now, you'd think after something like this, Tyler would vanish into thin air like a criminal mastermind. But nope, he didn't like Jason Bourne either. Instead, police immediately blast his picture across the state. The FBI jumped in, surveillance footage was circulated, and tips were flooding in. And here's the wildest twist. His own family sees the images and they're like,
"Wait a minute! Who are you?"
"Sorry, that was supposed to be, isn't that Tyler?" They confront him at home. And instead of covering for him, they march him straight to the Washington County Sheriff's Office with the help of a local minister. Imagine being turned in by your parents. That's a whole new level of grounded. Within about 33 hours of the shooting, Tyler Robinson was already in police custody. That's insanely fast for a case of this magnitude. Governor Spencer Cox held a press conference saying, "Yep, this is going to be treated as a death penalty case, both under Utah law and federal law." Basically, if these accusations stick, Tyler will be facing the harshest punishment possible. But the investigation doesn't stop there. Agents dig into his digital footprint. On Discord, they find discussions linking him to buying the rifle and talking politics in sketchy chats. Surveillance matches up with his movements on campus. The rifle's ballistics match the shot fired. It's like one of those bad kid milk crime scenes, where the kid has milk all over his mouth and on the kitchen floor. Meanwhile, the political world explodes. Charlie Kirk wasn't just any speaker. He was a major conservative influencer and founder Turning Point USA. With millions of followers, his death sends shockwaves through media and politics. Some call it domestic terrorism. Others frame it as the result of rising political extremism in America. Regardless, the FBI and local authorities stressed that this wasn't random because Robinson allegedly planned it, carried it out, and then flopped spectacularly in the getaway. At press conferences, officials go heavy on the gratitude. They thank Robinson's family for having the courage to turn him in. They praise the public for sending in tips. They commend the cooperation between state, local, and federal agencies. And honestly, it was lightning fast. Less than 2 days from shooting to arrest. That's record book efficiency. But let's zoom back in on Tyler. This guy wasn't some international man of mystery. He wasn't living a double life. His family said he'd just gotten more political and vocal over time. They saw the anger build, but nobody thought it would end here. Until, of course, it did. And when push came to shove, they didn't cover for him. They handed him over, which is probably why the case wrapped so quickly. So now Tyler sits in custody, facing death penalty charges, while investigators keep piecing together the puzzle. Was this purely political? Was it some twisted desire for attention? Or was it just hate dressed up as ideology? The bullets with inscriptions suggest he wanted to make some kind of statement. But instead, all it really says is, here's a young guy who threw his life away for one awful act. Sadly, that can be it. But this story isn't over yet. More charges are expected. The feds are building up more cases about his shooting. And the court proceedings will stretch on for years. So right now, let's say a 22-year-old with a rifle, some edgy bullet inscriptions, and a grudge changed the political landscape in one shot, and then got handed over by his mom and dad. So yeah, shout out to Utah Valley University, the FBI, Discord detectives, Governor Cox, and most of all, Tyler's family for proving that sometimes your parents will save the country by dragging your dumb ass to the police station.